Now why would somebody buy back the bond? So let's say you have a bond which you have issued which has 10 years of maturity. Let's say you have bond issued at face value of $100. Okay, it has a maturity of 10 years. Okay, why will you call the bond? Let's say the coupon that you are paying is 10% for it. Why you will want to buy back this bond in middle? Before completion of this 10 year you want to buy back this bond. Why you will do that? One thing is like he want to decrease the balance sheet liability, so he want to call back the bond. That makes sense. Okay, so need is the, I think that is the need. Another thing is, let's say so you have 10 years to maturity and the bond is issued, it has become 2 years after the issuance. Okay, now the current interest rate in the market has become, let's say, 5%. So the interest rate in the market has become 5%. Okay, so that means you can issue new bond at what rate? You can issue new bond at a coupon of 5%. Okay, and you are unnecessarily paying this guy 10%, right? So why? Because you are giving him 10%, you should have like 5%. So now what we say is it makes sense for the bond issuer to buy back the bond. So he will say that, okay, take your money, okay, give me my bond. And what the issuer can do is to how he can issue another bond and he can get that money, right? So but let's try to understand this concept of call funda. We are talking about a callable bond. Okay, in the indenture you have a bond call provision is mentioned. Okay, so let's say you have issued the bond on 1st January 2012. So on 1st January 2012 you have issued the bond. You have issued the bond at the par value or face value. Now you say that the bond can be called. So when all it can be called, you say that, okay, the bond can be called anytime after 1st Jan 2014. Okay, the bond can be called anytime after 1st Jan 2014, and you say that between 1st Jan 2014 and 31st December 2016, if you call back the bond, you will pay the bondholder $103. So the bond's face value is 100, you will pay the bondholder 103. Okay, then you specify between 1st January 2017 and let's say 31st December 2020. If I buy back the bond, I will buy back at 101. So let's say this bond is 15 years bond. Okay, and you say that if the bond is called any time after 1st Jan 2021, right? So you 2020 here. So 1st Jan 2021, if it is bought any time after 1st Jan 2021, you will pay only par 100. Okay, so you are saying that if bond is called between 2014 and 16, you will pay 103. 2017 and 2020, you will pay 101. Any time after 2021, you will pay 100. Now the investor has to decide whether he want to invest or not. Okay, seeing this restriction. Okay, so you might be thinking that, okay, I will not invest. Okay, because these are lots of constraints are there. But please try to understand this. Any time after 1st January 2014, you have issued the bond on 2012 1st January. So can the bond be called? Can the bond be called between 1st January 2012 and 31st December 2013? Can you call the bond between these two periods? No. Right? The bond cannot be called back. So this is for the benefit of whom? So the bond cannot be called between 2012 and 2013. This is for the benefit of holder. Right? This period is known as call deferment period. Okay, that means within this period the bond cannot be called. Okay. Now typically this is a trend which you will see that initially the bond can be called at a higher price, but as the time passes the call value of the bond decreases. Let's say a bond is issued at a premium in the start. Okay, because let's say if the bond's face value is $100, okay, and it has a coupon of 10%. Let's say the time of issuance the market interest rate is 9%. Okay, So the bond is paying you 10%, the market interest rate is 9%. What can be said about the bond? Will it be premium bond or will it be discount bond? It will be a premium bond, right? Now here let's say the bond was issued at a premium 105. Okay. What will the money that you will get at the maturity? So this is at t equal to 0. The bond price was 100. Okay. As the time passes, what happens is the bond price is kind of decreasing. At the maturity it will become face value, because at maturity you will get nothing but the face value. Okay. Similarly, if the bond is issued at discount, at maturity you will get the face value. So the bond price, premium bond price, will be decreasing with time. Okay, if the interest rate is constant, the discount bond price will be increasing with respect to time, and it will reach the face value at maturity. Why you will get face value at maturity? Because you had invested, the face value of the bond says that in the maturity you will be getting coupon plus face value, right? So the price of the bond at maturity will be equal to the face value. Now if you know that face value you will be getting, so what will happen is the bond issuer knows that you will be getting face value at maturity. So as the time of call it increases, he decreases the price at which he calls the bond. So that is what he does. Now let's say there is a bond which is currently callable. That means the bond deferred period has gone. Okay. So with the bond which we had issued on 1st Jan 2012, the bond which we had issued on 1st Jan 2012 and 31st December 2013, the bond was not callable. It was a call deferment period. Okay. But let's say you are in 2014. That is, the bond is currently callable. We had fixed the bond callable price at 103. So we are in 2014. If the bond issuer calls the bond, he will call the bond at $103. Okay. Now let's say this bond is traded in the market. I want to understand what is the price, maximum price the bond can trade in the market. Can it trade beyond 103? Let's see. First of all, we have to understand the price to yield relationship. So you have this as the price and this is the yield. When the yield decreases, what happens to the price? Everybody increases. Now will it increase this way? No. Then it should be curve, right? So because you have like lots and lots of equation, so if it should be a curve, should it be like this? So what is happening is yield is decreasing, here yield is decreasing, price is increasing. So can the bond be like this? So let's say you have this as 1, this is 2, and the third type you will find, let's say the third type which you have is this. So you have 3 types. We know that when the yield decreases, the price will increase. But will it happen this way? Will it happen this way? Will it happen this way? Okay, so can we say it's 3? But why? Why it is 3? Now it so happens that this green one, it is called as negative convexity. So when the bond prices changes like this is called as negative convexity. When the bond price changes like this, it is called as positive convexity. So negative convexity is this is your positive convexity. Okay. In reality, please remember the bond price follows positive convexity. So negative convexity is nothing but concavity. You have this as a concave, this is convex. So the bond prices, they follow convexity, or what we say is positive convexity. Can we say that the callable bond will also follow this price pattern? So the price pattern, by the way, I had asked about the straight bond. So the straight bond will follow the price pattern like 3. This is the price pattern for straight bond. Okay. Now what would be the price pattern for callable bond? Callable bond will not be having always positive convexity. This is a straight bond. The straight bond will always be positive convexity. Okay. So before I give you the answer, let's try to understand. Okay. Let's say the bond is currently callable, which we saw. The bond is currently callable. Okay. and the callable price is 103. Okay, let's say the bond is available in the market. The bond, let's say, assuming, okay, so the bond is trading in the market at 110. Will you buy it? The question is, will you buy? No. Why? So if you buy this bond, what will happen? The bond is trading at 110. Let's say today morning I bought the bond at 110. Okay, and I bought the bond, and in afternoon the bond issuer says that he want to buy back the bond. Okay, so he want to call the bond. At what price he will call? 103. But how much I have bought for? 110. 103 I will have to sell. So what is my loss? $7. So within hours I am facing a $7 loss. Okay, because since the bond is currently callable, the bond issuer can call back the bond anytime. Okay, so what you will find is nobody will be willing to buy the bond at 110 price. So nobody will be willing to buy the bond at 110. Okay, right? So in fact you will not see that the bond will not trade at this also. Why? Because if you buy at this price, the bond is get called, you will lose $0.1. So what we say is the bond price, the callable bond price will always be less than or equal to $103 when it was in 2014, or we say that callable bond price is always less than or equal to, instead of this I will say currently call price. Because you know that the call price changes, right? Between 2014 and 17 it is 103. After that it is 101. So when you are between 2014 and 17, the callable bond price will be less than or equal to 103. Okay. Now we have to understand over here what happens. So let's say this is your plain vanilla bond, okay, straight bond. Okay. And what we have is this pink color bond I am trying to say. Okay, so before that, let's say this is your 103. This is 103. Okay, what happens is typically at a higher yield. So typically what happens is at higher yield, the callable bond starts behaving like a normal bond. Okay, but when the yield is lower, so when the yield is lower, what happens is we say that why will a issuer call back the bond? When the yield in the market has become 5% and he is, let's say, giving 10% coupon. He is not a fool. He will not pay 10%. He will call back the bond. So at a higher yield, but if the yield is, let's say, 12%, he is not worried. He will not call the bond. So at higher yield, the bond will behave like a normal bond. But at lower yield, what happens is the bond does not behave like a normal bond and it starts behaving like this. So what we say is this callable bond will behave like your normal bond for higher yield. So there is no difference between this. But at lower yield, what will happen is this will not be positive convexity. It will be showing what? Negative convexity. And you will see that the bond price, this price, it is 103 over here. The bond price will not be able to go beyond 103. Okay, so 103 acts like a cap price for the bond. So it acts like a cap price for the bond. Now consider if you had bought a straight bond instead of a callable bond, right? Straight bond would have, at this interest rate, the straight bond would have gone to, let's say, 110. Callable bond will be trading at, let's say, 103. So there is a loss to you of how much? This is the loss. So this is the value of your normal bond. This is the value of your callable bond. So the loss that you are facing is this much. So this is your loss, which let's say is roughly $7. Okay. So can we say that value of callable bond will always be less than or equal to value of non-callable bond or price of non-callable? So can I say price of callable bond will always be less than or equal to price of non-callable bond? Correct? So what happens is this bond is a callable bond. There is a concept of call option. This value of $7 is the value of the call option. The $7 value is the call option value. So what we say is price of non-callable bond is equal to price of callable bond plus call option value. So the difference is your call option value. So this is your callable bond price. So again, let's do it in different color. Okay. So what I am saying is, this is your callable bond price, PC. This is the price that you have. Okay, let's say if you see this price, the orange price is your price of non-callable. The difference between this is your option cost. So your price of non-callable is more than the price of callable. The difference is your call option value. Okay. So this is how your callable bond will be priced.